Hey, it's Jamie Moore here. Hello, you're very welcome to episode 1 of the Off the Ball League of Ireland podcast. Coming to you from the 2019 SSE Airtricity League launch from the Aviva Stadium, with the new season just a couple of days away, kicking off this Friday with all 5 Premier League games coming up at 7:45. Over the next hour or so, we're going to be joined by men from all 10 of those clubs and the FAI Competitions Director, Fran, Gavin. Coming up, Dundalk's John Gill, Cork City's John Caulfield, Stephen McPhail of Shamrock Rovers, St Pat's new manager Harry Kenny, and UCD boss Collie O'Neill, plus 5 players as well. Waterford's Matt Conor, Bohemians Keith Buckley, Sligo Rovers Ronan Murray, Derry captain Barry McNamee, and new Finn Harps signing Sam Verdon, all on the way. We'll begin though with the champions Dundalk and their new manager. First team coach is his official title, John Gill, and after him it's former Dundalk man and now Sligo man Ronan Murray, as those teams meet to open the season this Friday.
John, let's just clarify first, because I know I was speaking to the Dundalk press officer last night, the roles that yourself and Vinny have. So you're the first team coach at Dundalk this season.
I'm first team coach. My remit is the first team. Vinny is head coach. Rory Higgins is assistant head coach. Their remit will go down as far as the under 13s, 15s, 17s, 19s. My remit is solely the first team. So the relationship between yourself and Vinny when it comes to first team matters, how do you, I suppose, divide responsibilities? It's a discussion. It's a management structure. It's probably a bit different and probably a bit hard for people to get their head around from outside the club, but we know what way it works. The players know exactly what way it works. It's been a seamless transition. You know, like you're going in filling a big pair of shoes, but I think, you know, we've done that. It's been seamless. It's been a privilege to be around the group. Great motivated bunch of players, good management team, young management, vibrant management team behind it. It's all systems go. It's business as usual.
You mentioned those big shoes, like Stephen Kenny obviously leaving the club. It leaves a massive void, and I suppose, do you feel there's a little bit of pressure there because he's had so much success and the fans will expect the same kind of success over the next couple of seasons?
Yeah, I think that's natural, but what people, you know, tend to forget is that it wasn't only Stephen that won the leagues. It's, you know, players win games. Managers get too much credit when things go well, and they get too much stick when things don't go well. It was a team effort up there. That's no fault of Stephen's. Stephen is, you know, he was the figurehead, but like really it comes down to players. And once you've good players with good habits, with hunger and motivation, that's what wins trophies.
So, you know, when you look at, I suppose you had your opening game already, the President's Cup, you beat Cork City. Do you take too much from that game, or do you tend to just forget about it and move on to the start of the season?
No, listen, it was a friendly. It was part of pre-season programme. It was a very competitive game. I can see it was my first taste of the Cork-Dundalk rivalry. A lot of rivalry there. It was a great game. It played at a very high tempo. We played particularly well, so did they. We were pleased to come out the right end of a good result, but it was part of our pre-season programme. We trained yesterday, we'll be in again today. So it's gearing up towards the season and Sligo on Friday.
Do you think, because we've seen over the last couple of seasons it's been Dundalk and Cork, you know, fighting out, and there's been a big gap then to the third team, is it going to be the same this season, or can you see other clubs there closing the gap?
No, I definitely think, Stephen, this year, anybody that knows League of Ireland football, Pats have, you know, Harry Kenny's recruited really, really well. Rovers the same. They've been building the last 2 or 3 years. Waterford are still a very good side. Cork, everybody's telling me that, you know, anybody you speak to, Cork won't be the same. Let me tell you something, Cork aren't going away, and any John Caulfield team is always going to put up a stern fight. They've earned the right to be where they are, and they certainly aren't going away. So I think it's good for the league that it's going to be more competitive. You don't want 2 teams, Stephen, you know, running away with it. You don't want a Celtic and Rangers scenario. We want a vibrant league. 4 or 5 teams this year who I think are really going to go hammer and tongs at it. You've probably got 5 other teams who probably haven't got the resources that the 5 I've mentioned to you haven't got, but they will still take points. And I think the league may come down to how well you do against the teams that are in probably the bottom half of the league. If you drop too many points there and you keep your eye solely on your nearest rivals, you can take your eye off the ball. This is a dog-eat-dog league. That's the one thing I've learned over the years. You can take nothing for granted. You treat each game with the same respect as every game, and if you do that and squeeze as much out of yourself as you can, you'll be successful. But again, I come back to it's down to players. If players have the hunger and the drive to do it, and certainly from what I've seen in Dundalk, been there 5 weeks, and it's been an eye-opening 5 weeks.
Are you happy with the signings so far this season, and would you like a couple more?
Yeah, the 4 boys we brought in have been really, really good. McCreary's a very good goalkeeper. He's played at a very high level in England. Young Dan Kelly had a sensational season for Balls last year. And Jordan Flores and Sean Murray have been two very quiet but they're two excellent acquisitions. And again, nobody knows them, nobody's seen them. I've seen them in training the last four or 5 weeks. Well, certainly Murray the last 2 weeks. Flores has been with us probably 4. He joined in full contact training this week. Quality. We are looking to maybe bring in 1 or 2 more, but they've got to be the right ones. They've got to fit into the culture that's been built up there, which is very much player driven. If they come up, we definitely feel we'd like to get 1 or 2 more in, but we'll only get them in if we feel they'll add to the group.
You mentioned the culture at the club, and I suppose a lot of that is driven by, or has been over the last number of years, by Stephen O'Donnell, who of course won't be playing anymore, unfortunately. But what can he bring in his new role around the club?
Well, obviously he's come in as a recruitment and our scout. He's a great knowledge of the game. Stephen goes and watches opposition teams that we're going to play. He also has a big say and a big help in recruitment when we identify players, doing background checks and going and watching them and getting as much information on them as we can. He's probably one of the best, probably the most respected player in the league. His trophy haul is probably second to none. But the good thing about it, he's such a nice guy as well. And you're right what you say, the players in Dundalk totally respect him. The respect that he's held in is, I can see why they respect him for what he's done. He's still part of the group. Players know that. And I think the players are in a good place as well with it. I'm glad that Stephen didn't go elsewhere. I'm glad that he decided to stay with us, because I think we've built up a really good management structure there at the moment. It's helped the transition. It's been seamless. Again, that will be proven in the next few months with results, because it's a result-driven business, but I think we're in a good place.
Pat Hooban, sensational last year. Can he score as many goals as he did this season?
Well, all I can say to you is that he missed the first 2 or 3 games of last season. He was a bit behind in pre-season last year. This year he's come back like a man possessed. He's actually as fit as I've seen Pat Hooban be. We've tailored his pre-season. He's worked really extremely hard, but we had a particular pre-season for him the first 2 or 3 weeks. He bought into it. He's come back in absolutely peak physical condition. And actually the last 2 weeks, it's like a button has gone off in Pat's head, because he's a different animal the last 2 weeks. The game friendly against Longford, and certainly down in Cork on Saturday. I'm not saying he's going to surpass 29 goals, but if there's any guy capable of doing it, Pat Hooban is.
That's bad news for Sligo Rovers supporters making their trip to Oriel Park for the first night of the season. John, what are you expecting from Sligo?
I don't know, Stephen, because it's been obviously a sea change up there. Liam Buckley's gone in. We all know the kind of football that he likes to play. He was very successful with St. Pat's. They seem to have gone out culturally. They've signed a lot of players from different backgrounds, different countries. It's a new group. So that may play in our favour, the fact that it's a new group gelling together, but we'll treat them with the utmost respect, as we will all clubs. It's going to be a tough battle, we know that. There's going to be no easy games in this league, no given games. We've got to do our business right, prepare properly, which we have done, and hopefully get off to a good start. But we'll be treating Sligo with the utmost respect. I think it may, when they get their best 11 on the pitch, they're going to be a match for anybody.
John, best of luck this year, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Stephen.
Ronan Murray, how are you?
Not so bad.
Sligo Rovers for 2019, your thoughts on the campaign ahead?
Yeah, it's exciting times. You can feel the atmosphere there at the launch, that everybody's ready to go, and now that you can see Friday night coming, we're playing at Dundalk, so it's exciting and just ready to get going. Yeah,
you're playing against your old team as well. Last time we spoke to you was before the FAI Cup final. You won a double with Dundalk as well. Why are you now a Sligo Rovers player?
Well, I enjoyed my time at Dundalk and loved every minute of it, but I felt like I need more time on the pitch, and that's why I moved home and played for Sligo.
Was there much in the decision process to actually move back towards home again as opposed to living away?
Yeah, of course. Dundalk was 4.5 hours from home, so it was a 9-hour round trip, so it was tough to see family and friends and stuff like that. So I think that's important as well in your life, that you need as well as success, and we had a lot of success, and I'm grateful for it, but I'm looking forward to my time at Sligo, and hopefully we can bring the club forward.
Yeah, it's a new Sligo in terms of Liam Buckley, new manager, some new players, some players coming in from abroad as well that maybe over here we haven't heard too much of. How is the squad shaping up, and how has pre-season gone?
Pre-season gone quite well. New players coming in. It's exciting to see what they're going to be like, but it's going to take time to adjust. Everything's going to take time to everybody bed in, new players, new manager. So it's exciting, but it's going to be down to hard work and getting points on the board early doors, getting the home fans on side, and getting our atmosphere back in the showgrounds.
Yeah, because in the League of Ireland most years, every player who signed for someone, you know who they are and who they've played for and their history. The number of players that Liam and Dave Campbell have brought in, some of them have come from other leagues and not too much known about them, but that surprise element could actually be a good thing for you guys against other teams that they don't really know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a surprise element to it in the first round of games and see what these players are like. From what I've seen so far, they've been good additions, so hopefully can bring in one or two more and we'll have a good squad to be challenging this season. Yeah,
the fixture list here: Dundalk away, opening night 7:45 on Friday. Back to your old club, back to the champions. They have a new manager as well, some new signings, but the majority of their squad are there, so a team you know quite well and a game you'd hope to start and I know you picked up a little knock, but from a point of view of trying to pick up points early in the season.
Yeah, well, we all know Dundalk's a well-oiled machine by now. I don't think the change of manager is going to be much of a difference. I think they're going to be still that formidable force that they have been in the recent years. So it's going to be a good test for us and see where we're at as a team. And we might have to ride our luck a little bit, but if we come away with any point, it'd be successful and move on.
How bad is your injury and how long do you expect to be out for?
I'm touch and go for Friday, but definitely fit, hopefully for St. Pat's at home.
And Ronan, just finally from the point of view of aims for the season, you talked to Cork, Dundalk, Rovers, Pats, Waterford there, going for Europe. And then the rest of the teams, you're not quite sure. There's 2 coming up, Finn, Harps, New City, and then the other 3, yourselves, Derry and Bows. Where do you see, obviously points are important, but where do you see things this season in terms of aims?
Personal aims is just try and play every minute that I can on the pitch and take it from there, really. As a team, it just depends on how we bed in together. We've done well so far in pre-season. Just have to keep the head down and work hard and you never know where we'll end up at the end of the year.
Ronan, thanks for being the best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dundalk manager John Gill, and after him, Ronan Murray of Sligo Rovers, speaking to myself, Jamie Moore and Stephen Doyle on episode 1 of the Off the Ball League of Ireland podcast, coming to you from the Aviva Stadium. That game, Oriel Park, 7:45 this Friday night. At the same time, in Waterford in the RSC, top 4 Waterford host top 4 Shamrock Rovers from last season. That game is also at 7:15. In a moment, we're going to catch up with the Shamrock Rovers sporting director Stephen McPhail. But first, I've been speaking to Waterford goalkeeper Matthew Conor, and I will warn you, some other bold League of Ireland players were distracting him during this interview. Matthew Conor, welcome to the League of Ireland podcast. We're less than a week away now from the start of the new season. What's your thoughts on the voyage ahead?
Yeah, it'll be a big year for the club. Obviously to build on what we've done last year as well, to qualifying for Europe, and obviously the European football ahead of us in the summer as well too. It'll be something the club will be looking forward to.
How's pre-season gone, and what differences for a goalkeeper in comparison to outfield players does pre-season have?
Pre-season's been good. Yeah, good couple of results, scored goals, kept a couple of clean sheets as well too. So good for the back four, good for confidence going forward. Pre-season, I suppose, just get shaking off the cobwebs, getting back into tune. Getting used to distance behind the back four and obviously crosses and kicking and that sort of likes. It's not maybe not as full on running wise, fitness wise as it is for the outfield lads, but it's hard work in its own right as well too. Yeah,
there's often a debate between outfielders and goalkeepers. Maybe it's banter, but that goalkeeping training is harder than outfield training and so on. And some managers include the goalkeepers in the running, others do extra work with the goalkeeping coach as well. Where do you stand on all of that?
Look, whatever works for the keeper. I suppose each keeper are different. They might want different things, and depends on age as well too. Maybe younger keepers might want to have that bit of fitness work behind them because their bodies can take it. But older keepers might want a little bit less work on what's probably more relevant to the game. But it's each of their own, I suppose. Yeah,
from your own point of view, last season you were competing with Niall Corbett and also with Lawrence Figueroa for some of the season. And this week, Waterford announced that goalkeeper Hugo Keto has signed from Brighton. He's 21 and he's joined, having played as well in Finland. Have you met him yet? And again, you'll be competing for him for your number 1 spot this year.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he came in there yesterday, so only had one session with him so far.
Thanks Conor Kane and Jack Chew for putting them off. For people who can't see, there's people making faces at Matt, so you can get your focus again now. Just on the goalkeeper, yeah.
Yeah, no, look, Niall and Viggs were great last year as well too. It was a good battle. Obviously I haven't seen Hugo too much, we're around the similar age, we're about 21, 22ish, so it'll be a fairly even battle. Look, I don't think he's too much experience in men's football. I think that's why he's here, so hopefully I might have that to my advantage and take it and run.
Yeah, you guys will have to balance Europe now as well as the league and the cups. How will you do that? Because it's a different challenge for clubs as Dundalk and Cork and others have found out in recent years.
Yeah, well I suppose we haven't got the experience that the likes of Cork and
Gary O'Neill is now at it. Gary, will you go away please? You've picked a bad time to do this interview.
We're all leaving, that's a problem.
So back to our original question, Europe and the balance please.
Yeah. Yeah, the balance. Yes, Cork and Dundalk could have that sort of experience, and obviously it's fresh. Waterford haven't qualified for Europe in 30 years, so I suppose you try and get that right. You try and get squad numbers as well too. Injuries, could be a big factor as well too. If you have a small squad going into it, so hopefully we'll have the bodies going into Europe as well too to be competitive.
And just finally, opening game of the season against Shamrock Rovers at home. RSC has been a great place to play football and watch football since you've gone back up, and even in the year where you got promoted too. So big crowd and a big game. 2 top 4 teams clashing in the opening night.
Yeah, huge. It's good to have it at home. We've 2 difficult away games after that as well too. So it's good to have Rovers at home in the first game. So obviously we know it's going to be a tough game. Rovers have signed really well to finish the season really strong as well too. They closed a 10-point gap we had and them come to the end of last year and overtook us. So obviously we probably want to get bragging rights back there now as well too and turn them over, but look, we'll see what happens Friday night. They've a really strong squad, obviously down in our place, want to make our place a fortress again this season, so we'll see where we go. Matthew Conor, thanks a million. You're a top pro with all the distractions.
Okay, well, unfortunately Stephen Bradley's feeling unwell, so I'm joined by the Shamrock Rovers sporting director Stephen McPhail. I hope Roger's going to be okay for Friday night, yeah?
I'll be okay, yeah, he's fine, there's no problems.
Great stuff. Well, listen, just want to ask you first about Shamrock Rovers. Obviously the big news this week was that Gavin Bazzunu's transfer went through to Manchester City. I know there's been arrangements made for his education over there. So the big question on everybody's lips, and because Premier League is so competitive now, can Gavin make it, do you think, in the top flight in England?
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? It's obviously potentially he's got everything, isn't he? He's shown at a really young age that he can deal with the pressures of men's football. He's been around the first team squad training for the last number of years, so listen, no one can predict where anyone finishes, but he's definitely got the attributes to have a chance.
Jack Byrne has come into Shamrock Rovers this year, and he's a man who I suppose there was always talk of the great potential that he had. He was at Manchester City under the wing of Patrick Vieira, who spoke great things about Jack at the time, and unfortunately it never worked out from really at any club he went to. Can he fulfil his potential, do you think, at Tala?
Listen, it's hard, like, cause I can't comment on what happened before with Jack. I just can deal with the last couple of months since he's been with us and what he's done and how he's turned up every day and trying really hard. And he's been excellent. He's obviously really good technically on the ball, so it's little bits and pieces that you need to give him on the other part of his game. Like any player, they have strengths and weaknesses. So potentially he's all the ability in the world. It's about trying to fit into the team structure, which is, I think, a huge part of the head coach Stephen Bradley's philosophy for him, is trying to fit him into the team. Super player, he's been excellent around the place. He's not missed a day. He's been working his socks off. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. Delighted to have him in.
What has he got? Because as a midfielder yourself, Stephen, and you've seen him up close now, what has he got maybe that separates him from other players?
Well, he takes the football, and enjoys the ball, doesn't shy away from possession. Really good technique, can see a pass, long, short, good decision maker. So he has got a lot of good attributes. Like a lot of our midfielders have, it's good competition in that area of the pitch. So he'll have a work cut out to stay in the team or get in the team, because there is a lot of good players, and especially in this league. I think it's going to be an eye opener for people coming home. I did it myself, and it's difficult. It's not an easy league to fit into straight away. So it might take him time, but we're really confident that we get him right and get him at it. And the signs are good that we can get a good player out of him.
Since Gary Twigg left Shamrock Rovers, the club has found it difficult maybe to find a player who can consistently get a huge amount of goals each season. Do you think is there anybody there that can do it this year?
Listen, Aaron Green, Dan Carr, we've got players, really good players. We'll hopefully get another one over the line. We're just waiting for some clearances to go through on the next day or so. Probably Graham Burke last year would have got 20 goals, but we wouldn't have won the league. So a lot of people looking into that side of things, but we don't as coaches and as people that look into the football side of things. I think there's a more all around to getting a stronger squad, a settled squad, which we have this year, which we're looking forward to hopefully seeing a bit more consistency from everyone.
Any hints on the new signing?
No, we can't speak until it's done. There's no point if it might not happen, but hopefully it won't be in the next couple of days.
Is consistency the big thing that's been missing for Shamrock Rovers in an attempt to mount a title challenge over the last couple of years? Is that the key thing Stephen Bradley needs to find this year? Of
course, yeah. The two ahead of us there's a gap there we need to bridge, and that's all we can concentrate on. We're not going to stand here and say we're going to win the league, because that's not what we're focused on. We're focused on catching the two ahead of us and try and bridge that gap. I think it's a really interesting season this year, so we just want to get started and see where we are.
Can you finish higher than third?
That's the aim. Try and bridge that gap, as I said, is the most important thing, and that we give ourselves a chance.
First night away from home. I suppose you'd like to be starting at home, but it's away to Waterford, and really tricky fixture down there, isn't it?
Difficult, yeah. Alan's done a really good job down there in the last couple of years, getting them promoted, and then great achievement last year, getting a European spot as well. So always a difficult place to go. With some great games against each other last year. So really looking forward to getting down there and getting the season started.
You're on episode 1 of the Off the Ball League of Ireland podcast with myself, Jamie Moore, at the Aviva Stadium today. That was the Shamrock Rovers sporting director Stephen McPhail, and before him Waterford goalkeeper Matthew Conor, speaking to Stephen Doyle and myself, Jamie Moore. Now 7:45 Richmond Park on Friday, St Pat's, and their new manager Harry Kenny welcome Cork City and their boss John Caulfield. And Stephen has been speaking to both managers.
Harry, you came in to take over from Liam Buckley, who left the club last year. He'd been there for 7 years. Did you feel you had to make a huge amount of changes going into the club?
Not a huge amount. There was 7 to 8 lads that had signed back prior to me arriving, which I was delighted about. It was obviously less work for me, but I've taken in another 7 or 8 lads as well, new signings from around the league, which I'm very pleased about and delighted with the support from the club.
And I suppose just the model of the club, the way the St Pat's play football, we know under Liam they would have played really attacking brand of football. Is that something you'd like to continue on as well?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I played an attacking brand of football with Bray as well, and I'm sort of cut from the same cloth as Liam was, because I played with Liam many years ago with Rovers, and then I was assistant manager there of 2013 when we won the league, so we're sort of cut from the same cloth, and yeah, I'll be playing a decent brand of football.
You mentioned Bray there. You were going really well with Bray, and we know all about the problems off the field, but you got them into the European places. I suppose you've just shown what you can do with a particular squad. Do you think you have the squad of players there now at St Pat's where you can break into that top 4 and get a European place? I hate making predictions, and I can say to you that the usual boring stuff that we're going to try and finish as high as possible, but I'd like to think with the players we're after signing and the ones that have stayed around from previous seasons, we have a squad well capable of challenging at the top end, yeah. Obviously the big name signing this year has been Chris Forrester. How did you know he was maybe on your radar, and how did you convince him to come back to Dublin? It wasn't too difficult, if I'm honest with you. I've been talking to Chris over the last number of months. I've been keeping an eye on him. I've noticed he hadn't been playing with Aberdeen. He had a good season with Peterborough season before that, but when he went to Aberdeen he wasn't doing so well. So I spoke to him on the phone a couple of times, and it was difficult enough to get him out because Aberdeen didn't want to let him out, but in the end, not that he forced his way out, he just wanted to come home and be happy again and start playing football, and we were delighted that he came our way. We saw in his previous spells with Pats and with Bows how brilliant he can be as a player. You know, what is it about Chris Forrester that makes him so special? He's fantastic ability on the ball. He sees passes. He's a good dribbler of the ball. He's a technician. He's very, very good, and he's a great creator of chances. And he's not a bad goal scorer himself. So, yeah, he's got everything a footballer could have. We're just trying to improve his fitness at the minute. He hasn't had too much game time at Aberdeen, so we're getting there with him, but we're delighted to have him. You obviously have an eye for young talent as well yourself, Harry. Are there any young players you'd like to think could make a big impact with the club this season? Yeah, there's a couple of lads in there, yeah. Darragh Markey's already made an impact and he's gone well. James Dillon is only a young lad. Kieran Kelly, a big centre-back that we signed from Drogheda. So, yeah, there's plenty of young lads coming through. The academy is very good at Pats. Like Ger O'Brien runs the academy and is doing a great job, and they were very successful last year through the age groups. So there's plenty of players coming through. And you yourself, do you feel around the club there is a sense of expectation that there's a real, you know, that the fans are really expecting something big from the club this year? I think so. They're very good fans. They're patient fans. I've noticed that over the last 2 years they've been very patient, and they appreciate the work that I'm doing and the coaches are doing. And yeah, there is a bit of an expectation. I'm trying to dampen that down a little bit, but you've no chance. Yeah. And look, it's great to get a home game to kick off the season, but You're playing against Cork, who have been competing for the title for the last 4 or 5 seasons. Is it possible to get a good start against them?
Of course it is, yeah. We're at home. It'll be a nice marker on where we are a little bit, and you know, you can play as many friendlies as you want, but when the real thing comes around, I think that tells you where you're going to be, you know. So we'll see how we get on.
Best of luck for the season, Harry. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
John Caulfield, great to speak to you before the start of the new season. I suppose it's the time of year when everybody's going in with high expectations and feeling optimistic. Do you think we're going to have a culmination of another Dundalk-Cork City battle for the title this season?
I don't think so. Obviously, I think everyone hopes it isn't going to be that way. There's going to be a lot more teams involved. Obviously, Dundalk are a team to beat. They've kept all their players, their management team, Vinny Perth and Rory Higgins. Obviously John Gill is coming as well. They've been with the club for the last number of years, so it's a smooth transition for them really, and they're the team to beat. For us, we've lost 9 players from last year. We've a lot of new players brought in, so we hope to be very competitive. But obviously Shamrock Rovers and Stephen's experience, the fact he's there now for his 3rd year, and the players he's brought in, McNamee and Jack Byrne coming back, has given them a team that you expect to challenge. And obviously Derry have invested, St. Pat's have invested. So I think overall everyone in the league would hope that there's going to be 4 or 5 teams competing. But from my point of view, we need to do the best we can out of Cork. But Dundalk are certainly the team to beat.
You mentioned losing players. Is Kieran Sadler, is he the one that leaves the biggest void, do you think, in your team?
Well, to be honest with you, I suppose if you look at goals, Kieran got in the league last year. He had 16 goals. So, from that point of view, he was a very creative player, a very good player first. But overall, we've lost, Jimmy Cohan, Barry McNamee, Stephen Beattie, Johnny Dunleavy. Lots of experienced lads who have been with the club for a number of years. So, it all probably takes its toll from that point of view. So, for me, it's just there's been a number of guys that we've lost, and that's just the way it is. And you just get on with it. And we brought a lot of new players in, and they're young and they're enthusiastic and they've trained very hard in pre-season, and they're all talented players. So we're hoping that they'll gel very quickly.
Well, I suppose like somebody like Alan Bennett, his experience, that'll be really important this season when you have so many young players in the squad.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. I think the lads were saying the other day that we have 3 lads over 30, Mark McNulty, Alan Bennett and Graham Cummins. Most of the lads are the age between 19, 23, 24, and so a lot of them are coming through, but certainly we'll need Alan's experience, not only at match night but even around the ground during the week. And but he's already been like that, and he's a great guy. So we need plenty of that. But we still a lot of talent with the younger lads, and we're just hoping that they can produce on the pitch every week.
You mentioned Graham Cummins there. Can he bang more goals in this year?
Yeah, I suppose that's a challenge. Graham got 14 last year from playing the league. Great return. He obviously was a little bit disappointed. He felt he could have got close to 20, but that's the challenge this year that hopefully he can, because certainly if you have a striker who can get you 20 goals, you're always going to be thereabouts. And the previous year Shawnee had got 22 and then he left halfway through the season. Obviously Patrick Hoban got 29 last year. So if you get a striker that's in the 20 goal market, you have a right chance. So that'll be the challenge for Graham. And but we have other lads. Carl Shepherd can play up top, and we've 1 or 2 new players coming in as well. So we'll see. But certainly you need goal scorers to have any chance of the league.
I read an interview you did, I think it was at the Irish Examiner, and you were talking about how hard it is to bring young players through, and that you have to have a bit of patience with them because they will make mistakes. When you look at Turner's Cross and you pack in so many people there for all the home games, is that a bit of a challenge as well? Because it's great having all those numbers there, but when players are making mistakes, that can sometimes generate a nervousness from the stands.
Absolutely, and that's the challenge for us this year, because we have had phenomenal support over the last 5 years. Crowds have been huge, and the expectations have been huge because we've been always challenging. And that is the challenge to the supporters, challenge to the management, to give the young players time, because they will make mistakes, but they have talent. But I suppose early indications, we played Dundalk in the President's Cup last Saturday. First half Dundalk were really good, and they were 2-0 up. Second half we played really well, got back to 2-1. Possibly could have drawn the match, but I think our supporters, 3,000 on the day, saw that there was a lot of talent in the team. So we just need to be patient. That's just the way it is. But plus the fact that the younger players have to understand they have to handle Cork, they have to handle the big crowds, and I always say that when players come coming on the Cork, and for me being there for so long, there is huge pressure, and you have to be able to handle that, and that's the difference between whether you can make it as a top player and win trophies or you can't, and that's always the challenge.
St Patrick's Athletic away first. I know maybe a couple of years ago Cork seemed to struggle against the Dublin sides, but not last year. You did really well. But again, St Pat's are a bit of a dark horse, and they've signed some really good players. So perhaps not the most ideal fixture to start off with.
Absolutely not. And you know, Harry Kenny's after taking charge, and Harry has done really well in our league. Did really well with Bray before the financial restrictions came upon them a couple of years ago. He had them up to third, but he signed really well. Obviously, Mickey Drennan, Gary Shaw, Chris Forrester coming back home. You know, in the middle of the park, they've signed Reece McCabe. You know, Conor Clifford has gone. So you look around their team, they have invested really, really well. So, you know, a real outside chance of challenging for the league. You know, Harry won't like me to say that, but certainly with the talent they have. So it's a really tough opener for us. But, you know, at the same time, you know, all I can do is prepare our own team, and well, we know it's going to be very difficult. At the same time, if we play to form, you have a chance. If you don't, you won't. But certainly St Pat's will be very, very competitive this year, and you know, if they start the season well and get momentum, they could certainly challenge for the league.
John, thanks for your time and best of luck this year.
Thanks very much.
UCD are back in the Premier League after a long absence under Collie O'Neill. They make the long trip to the Ryan McBride Brandywell Stadium this Friday evening to face Derry City at 7:15. We're going to hear from Collie in just a second, but first it's new Derry City captain Barry McNamee. Barry McNamee, how are you?
Not too bad, thank you.
Barry, you're back with your hometown club, I suppose. Tell us how the move from Cork to Derry came, and of course you're captain for the season.
Well, obviously I'm honoured to be captain. Obviously it's a kind of long process. Like, it took a good 2 months to decide. No, I've spoke to a few clubs. Took a couple of months then to decide what I wanted to do, but at the end of the day, like, I worked under Decky before, and for me it was a no-brainer once he asked me to come back. Yeah,
what influence did the new manager Declan Devine have in your return?
Well, obviously, like, I played under him before, won the cup in 2012, and in my opinion probably played the best football in my career so far under him, so I'm hoping to go back to them sort of days again.
Was there much of a part of the decision going home to, you know, where you're from, as opposed to staying in Cork again from a living point of view?
No, not really. Like, I really enjoyed my year last year in Cork, and like you know, there was no problems moving away. Like, I enjoyed the year away and enjoyed the change room. Like, it was a great change room down there, a great bunch of lads, and really enjoyed my year down there. So it wasn't really a major factor in it. But once I decided to leave, I decided that just with Decky coming back, Derry was the right fit for me.
Yeah, I've seen some of the videos on social media across pre-season. Looks like it's been a tough 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, no, they had a couple of weeks extra on me. I come in kind of in the middle of pre-season, and look, there's been a lot of days, a lot of long days. There's been a lot of double sessions, triple sessions, like a lot of 4 or 5 days in a row, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it's pre-season. It's where you have to put the work in, and every player's bought into it, and you know, they've worked as hard as they can during the pre-season, and hopefully we'll see the benefits throughout the year.
Yeah, it's always an interesting project, Derry, because it's local players combined with players who are moving there from Dublin and from other places as well. How would you assess the squad and how things have gone in pre-season heading into this game against UCD on Friday?
Well, again, as I said, like from last year's squad, like, there's only maybe 3 or 4 still left. A lot of change. A lot of new players have come in. A lot of players like myself have come back again for a second stint. So like, we're all just can't wait. Like, it's a young squad. It's going to be a fit squad. It's going to be like, there's going to be a lot of work rate, like a lot of desire that there's kind of the type of players that he's brought in, and we've really all bought into the way he wants to do things. So it's hopefully a big competitive campaign anyway, and starts with UCD on Friday night. Yeah,
your previous couple of years there before you moved to Cork, Derry were competing for Europe and qualifying for Europe and stuff. Last year they really dropped off in the middle of the season. I'm sure there's a real ambition for everybody there to try and get up towards that top 4 again, but probably, you know, there's other strong teams going for it as well.
As I said, it's going to be tough obviously to get up to them top 4 teams, but again, like last year whenever they moved into the Brandywell was bouncing, like, got full houses, and you've seen the performances and the results they were capable of. Like, so again, with Decky bringing in like a lot of local lads again, and with his whole backroom staff being local people as well, like, I think the whole city's really going to get behind us, and hopefully we can have a good campaign. But no, it is a young squad, and it probably will take us a bit of time to gel. So the European spots might be a bit ambitious, but at the end of the day, like, we're going to work hard and be competitive in every game, and we'll see where it takes us.
Harry, best of luck. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
With the UCD manager Collie O'Neill. Collie, getting ready for a Premier League season. How has pre-season gone, first of all?
It's the usual in the college games, Collingwood Cup, trying to match in training sessions with it. I suppose you never feel 100% ready, but I suppose even if you gave me an additional 3 weeks, I'd still say I wasn't 100% ready, but gone as well as can be.
Yeah, for those who are unaware of what happens in your pre-season, just explain it, because the whole squad plays for the college and they're in the middle of a competitive season, so you don't have too many first team friendlies, but they're still playing together in competitive games, kind of.
Yeah, they're still in competitive games, but it's a little bit different in that you have some players that are probably in the Leinster Senior League team that are within that college team, but majority of our games in pre-season is college games, is Collingwood Cup games. At least I suppose there's a competitive nature to those games, so they can be a little bit better than just meaningless friendlies where there's so many changes. So, but it's tough on the players. It's a tough pre-season.
Yeah, you've lost Greg Sloggett to Derry and Darragh O'Connor to Cork, two of your regular players last year. You've signed Richie O'Farrell from Pats, and you still have the majority of the rest of your squad there too. So how do you assess your squad moving forward? And every year, unfortunately, or most years, you will lose a couple and you'll gain a couple, and a couple of younger ones who are ready to step up. Yeah,
well, it's like a conveyor belt in UCD. One goes out, another one gets his chance. We have Evan Ozam now, who picked up an injury last night. Well, looks like it will be a long-term one, so that gives Mark Dignam his chance to come in and play Premier Division football. So it's just the nature of UCD. It's the way it works.
Your opening game, you probably couldn't have picked a longer trip away to Derry. You're sure to be a good pitch though up there, and they've a new squad. I think they've only 4 or 5 from last season, a new manager, so maybe hard to predict what they'll do, but you'll be trying to make your own plan to win the game.
Of course, it's not just a case of just competing this year. It's a case of trying to win as many games as we can too. Like, well, I'm not going to set out a stall to go up there and get a 0-0 draw. It'll be a case of trying to play into our strengths and see if we can go win the game. It's going to be a tough ask. I think it's probably going to be a full house. There'll be a lot of passion and support from the local community. But this is the stage we want to be playing at. This is what drove us through all those tough games in the first division last year, because we knew this is the stage that we want to be playing on.
And just lastly, do you care that UCD and Harps are tipped by most people to be at the bottom, and is it an extra motivation for you and the players to show people that actually that won't be the case? Like last year, you beat Waterford in the Cup, you nearly beat Dundalk. You can perform against the top teams.
I don't use that as a motivation at all. You look at Gary and Timmy at 24 years of age are the oldest players that we have. Every single one of our players is in college. I think 4 players have a handful of minutes between themselves as playing Premier Division football. So it's a no-brainer that we're tipped to go down. But I suppose the one thing people don't realise is the ability, skill, and what those players are able to produce on certain nights. And I think that might be enough just to do better than just survive.
Cheers, Collie. Thanks, Jamie. Best of luck.
Thanks, Jamie.
The final game of the weekend is also in Dublin. It's Bohemians hosting Finn Harps, newly promoted Finn Harps, against a new look Bohemians team under Keith Long. And now we're going to speak in a couple of minutes to Sam Verdon of Finn Harps. But first, I've been chatting to Bohemians' Keith Buckley. With Bohemians' Keith Buckley. Keith, you're at the start of another League of Ireland season. You're excited to get going again on Friday?
Yeah, it's been, I think we came in about 7 weeks ago, so it's had to come in quick and fast, 7 weeks. We've got a couple of games on our belt, so I'm looking forward now Friday.
How was pre-season gone? It's a time of the year that not many League of Ireland players like, because it's the probably hardest time of the year to get fit and get ready for the big kick-off.
Yeah, now we've got a lad working with us who tracks us through the GPS systems and all, so we're actually, our data is being based on last year, so we're trying to get to them levels again to where we're finished the season, so it's been good. Maybe we missed out one game, probably playing 90 minutes because of the East Fife, so hopefully now that we're all ready to go by Friday.
Yeah, it's another kind of strange off-season for Bohs in that some players have left, some players have joined. You're now definitely one of the senior players with Shane Supple and Dan Casey and Ian Morrison and others gone. Does that change your role within the squad, given there's lots of younger ones who've come in, especially some coming home from England?
Similar to last year, as I said before, like that, I can be that bridge in between young lads and the older lads. Well, as one can consider that old lad now, if they're probably a bit nervous to go and talk to things about anything, they can come to me, and I can go above to Dets, who's the captain, I'm the vice captain this year, so it's a different role for me as well. Like, I have to be helping everybody in every way I can,
Yeah, it's something at Bohs that's been quite common in recent years because the club don't have the budget of the top clubs in the country. Is that hard every year to see some of your best teammates? I know you left yourself and you've come back, so you've actually been in that situation.
Yeah, I'd say it's hard on the fans and hard on the management also, they say every year, but every year they produce, every year we punch above our weight every time, so it's a good thing to say for the club and the management that what they do every single year, where 5-6 players go and leave and maybe some going away. I don't think there's many in the league that can do that every year, consistently lose players and come in and still do good.
You've an interesting start to the season, home to Finn Harps, recently promoted, away to UCD, also promoted, and then the derby against Shamrock Rovers on the Monday night, so a really interesting first week, first 10 days.
Yeah, the first two games, you know, a lot of people are tipping us to be down there with Finn Harps and with UCD, like, so we need to get points on the board early on, quick and early, so that, and I'm glad that probably these 5 games cancelled, because we could have been late on coming into the season, so I'm hopefully enough to get 6 points from them first two games, and then we'll see that third game whenever it comes, you know.
Yeah, does that add extra importance, given you've said, you know, the likes of Harps and UCD might be around you in the table come the end?
Well, like, every point counts. Like, and the people say the points at the end of the season now, 3 points now. If we can get the 6 points at the start, you know what I mean? So 3 points ahead on both teams. So that'll roll in then onto the Monday against Rovers, you know.
And just overall, with the way the league is set up again, like if you look last year, Bohs finished I think 6th, and the previous year I think 5th, and nearly made Europe in the end. So people are saying you might not be towards the middle of the top, but if you can put a run together as you have done previous years, maybe the younger players settle in, get used to the league, you never know where you might go.
Yeah, as we spoke about that, it's patience also, like with new players coming in, it does take time. If you notice over the last couple of years, it's toward the second half of the season where we actually do good, because new lads coming in, implemented into the squad, into know what we want to do, like, and like last year, the last I think 12 games, I think we maybe won 10 and stuff, like, you know, and a couple run. If we can do that again, that was a successful season.
And just a couple of words on the first game against Finn Harps as well at Daley, and hopefully the pitch is unfrozen after these 5 games, and Harps are coming up, they're a physical team, quite direct, and it'll be an interesting battle between you guys this Friday.
Yeah, well, that's the last time when I played them, when they were in the top league. That's what they were there. But I'm not sure what they are. Probably with Horgan, he has them well drilled. In fairness, he has a great job up there. Like, so, but I'm not sure if they have to sign a good few players off Longford coming through. They've a good few players up there. Mark Timlin's a great player when he's on. I'm not sure if he's going to be fit. But it's going to be. I don't think there'll be much football being played on the Friday. It's a battle to get the 3 points, and whatever we have to do.
And making home advantage count as well at Daley Mount. I know Bohs are making a big push this week to try and have the place packed, and it's a real special place when it's packed, and results have varied in the last couple of years here. We'd be hopeful to have a good support to Rory's on. Yeah, I don't think the home points has been tallied up towards away. When we've been batting away from home the last couple of years, even when I was away at Bohs, it was been the same. Like, so I'm hoping to beat probably 2 or 3-0 if we can get like a good start early on the game. But Finn Harps, you know, they're resilient. They just dig in and they get results, you know. Buckley, thanks for being the best of luck.
No problem.
With Finn Harps, Verdon. Sam, we're a week out from the new season. Your thoughts on the campaign ahead, and you're now a Finn Harps player, of course.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Like, we're under no illusions that it's going to be a much tougher task than last year, but it's one we're looking forward to, and can't wait to get going Friday. Yeah,
why are you now a Finn Harps player, having played for Longford for the previous couple of years?
I suppose Ollie gave me a call and he just sold it to me, and yeah, the attraction of playing in the Premier Division as well helped an awful lot, and to play for Ollie and to play with the lads as well. I know a couple of lads before I signed, and since I've gone up there, everyone's been brilliant. So yeah, really enjoying it so far, and just can't wait to get going.
Yeah, you played in the Premier League before as a younger player with Pats as well, and you spoke about how ambitious you were to get back to that level, and that's what Ollie Horgan has given you the chance to do.
Yeah, and look, I'm very grateful for that. I can't wait to get playing again in the Premier Division. But yeah, we played there a couple of years ago, and obviously dropping down to the first division, just kind of find myself a bit and back up to it now. So yeah, really can't wait to get going.
How has pre-season gone, and how have you found the travelling up and down from Dublin a couple of times a week up to Donegal?
It's the same question every time. Everyone asks me. It's not too bad. Trust me, it's way worse doing it on a bus than it is in a car. Pre-season's gone really well, feeling fit. We've had a couple of good results. We've had a couple of bad results, but look, we won't know more until we play Friday. And even after the first round of games, I suppose we can tell where we are. But look, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be tough, we know that, but we're excited. Yeah,
opening game away to Bohs as well this Friday at Daley. What's your thoughts on that game, and a team who may be around you guys in the table come the end?
Yeah, look, it's going to be a good game. It's a great first game to have. Daley Mount's a great stadium to play in. So hopefully there's a big crowd there, and you never know. Hopefully we get a win.
How important is it to pick up points against the likes of your Bohs and your UCDs and maybe Sligo and Derry, the other teams? You know, you look at Dundalk and Pats and Rovers and Cork, they might be up towards the top, but to pick up points against the teams that may be near you come the end?
Yeah, look, we're not even looking that far, Jamie, to be honest. We're taking one game at a time. All we're concentrating on now is Bohs. And then the next week we're looking at Dundalk at home, so it doesn't get any easier, but we're only looking at Bohs and see can we get a win on Friday and get the campaign off to a good start.
Sam, thanks a million, best of luck.
No worries, cheers.
Yeah, great stuff there from Sam Verdon and Keith Buckley. The full fixture list this Friday. All games 7:45. Bohemians against Finn Harps at Dagenham Park. It's Derry City hosting UCD at the Ryan McBride Brandywell Stadium. Dundalk, the champions, the double winners at Oriel Park, welcome Sligo Rovers and their new boss Liam Buckley. It's St Pat's against Cork City at Richmond Park. Harry Kenny against John Caulfield. And finally, Waterford FC against Shamrock Rovers in the RSC, also at 7:45. Now, lastly on the podcast this week, we're going to hear from the FAI Competitions Director, Fran Gavin, who made some interesting announcements at today's launch. With the League Director, Fran Gavin. Fran, how are you?
Great, Jamie, thanks very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're just at the end of the League launch for 2019. Some news lines from your speech. What sort of things did you speak about?
Well, I suppose we have two competitions that are being announced today, and one is the champions of the SSE Airtricity League will play the champions of the Danske Bank Northern Ireland Professional Football League at the end of the season, and I think that's a welcome one there. We'll have further announcements of that in a couple of weeks' time, but that's very welcome by the clubs and everybody in general. And the other one, of course, is the Under-13 National League is going to kick off this year, and that gives us a step on the ladder again, the first step for people, for players, young elite players, under-13s, under-15s, under-17s and under-19s, and that's really been working well, and that's building the future of the league. That's where our players will come from. We've also have some leagues outside of that don't have representation of senior football, like in Kildare, in Kerry, in Mayo and in Monaghan. And that's part of the FAI's overall strategy, to develop the senior game in those counties.
Yeah, this game, the North feeds the South as well. Like the Satanta Cup was around for years and it was a great competition. You know, it stopped for a few years as well, so it's the first time that we've had something like this in a number of years. Yeah. How did the deal come up and how will it all work?
Well, I suppose it's something over the years the clubs have been saying to us, is there any chance of the Satanta Cup coming back? And because that's what it was known as. And I think this initiative was between the FAI and the IFA. And it'll be the champions, and for the first couple of few years, and it may grow, we don't know, but I think it's just welcome that it's a welcome return for it, and I think it's good to see it. It really is. Yeah. What
do you expect from the season itself, with lots of new managers, lots of new players, Dundalk changing, Cork same managers, some new players, UCD and Finn Harps back up as well? It should be an exciting time.
I think it is, and I think it's going to be exciting in both divisions, not just the Premier, because I look at the first division now and I see Shelbourne building, Drogheda building, Longford with Neil Fenn, they're a really good manager there. Tim's in Drogheda. And Ian is in Sherb. And outside of that, you've got lots of other clubs around there that are going to be pushing as well. Galway under Alan Murphy. You go through them all in that division. In the Premier, you're just looking at Dundalk. I mean, that Dundalk team there, they nearly managed themselves at this stage. They're really a strong group of players. You can see the bond between them now, because they haven't lost anybody this year. They've actually added to the squad. They have a new management system in place there, and I think they're going to be the benchmark. But just looking at the match last week when they played Cork in the President's Cup, and you could see it there that Cork side, John Caulfield has some good, very young players there, and they're starting to gel a little bit. You could see that just coming in the early stages. Derry will be very good this year. A lot of good sides. St Pat's, looking at what Harry Kenny's doing there, it's under the radar. A lot of good, creative players, and I think they'll be ones to watch as well. And with Waterford, but you can go through them all. It's great to see UCD back. I mean, they're going to be a significantly good team, and it's also great to see Finn Harps back in there, and those derbies up there between Derry City and the derbies, and then when they play the local rival Sligo up the northwest there, it's going to be healthy, and that's what we want.
Yeah, we're launching the first division as well today, and it should be an exciting league. You mentioned some of the clubs already there, and that starts a week later. It's one series less of games, but it should be another interesting league. And at times, there's criticism that the first division isn't, as well promoted, and the league isn't as well promoted as well. So, just your thoughts on those criticisms and what the first division will be this season.
I think it's competitive. It'll be really competitive. There's a lot of teams there that want to get into that Premier. Shelbourne have put a lot of investment in there, in the playing squad there. They have a new young manager there. There's a lot of good young managers in that division as well. And I think it's going to be competitive there. We do give it as much focus as any league we do there, and also the clubs themselves do a lot of good stuff around there. And with social media now, we assist the clubs as much. We had a workshop this morning. All the clubs were there. We're available to assist the clubs. Airtricity will promote it. We promote them as well on all our platforms, and we'll continue to do that. Whether you're a Premier Division or a First Division team, we'll support them.
And Fran, just our last two, speaking of platforms, TV deals are in the limelight to speak about Soccer Public being cut in half, but more live games for RTÉ. I think it's 18 games and then 15 minimum for Air Sport 2. So we'll have more games to watch, but the highlights package will be a little bit shorter. Are you disappointed about that?
No, absolutely not. I think what RTÉ are putting together here is more coverage of the league, not less. I think it's significantly sharper. It's what the modern, I suppose, consumer wants. They want sharper, tighter programmes in there, but I think their live games will be really good. 3 hours of live football and analysis and highlights of all the games on the Friday night now when it's a live game. That's significant for us. You know, that adds to what Air Sport are doing with their coverage, which is really good over the last while. So I think we have two partners in our broadcasters between RTÉ and Air Sport. It's going to enhance the coverage of the league. That's going to be good for everybody.
And it's the first launch in years and years that we haven't had Stephen Kenny here as a manager. Well, you could be here as a 21s manager, the senior manager now, but just as league director, just give us your views on his appointment and, you know, his loss to Dundalk, but his gain for the FAI 21s, younger teams, and in a couple of years' time we'll be watching them out the window there managing the senior team. Yeah, I don't think there's loss anywhere with Stephen. I think Stephen, we're very lucky in the league to have Stephen and Dundalk and all the other clubs that he's been involved with over the past. He's a great guy. We're delighted to have him in the FAI, to be working with him as a colleague now, that will be great to see, and we support Stephen any way we can. And of course, Stephen, who knows the league better than Stephen Kenny? You know, it's going to have it looks good for the future of not only the domestic league, but our international sides, underage, and our senior team. Mick McCarthy's here today. Mick will do a fantastic job for us, and Mick knows the league well. Fran, Gavin, thanks a million. Enjoy the season. Thanks very much, Jamie. Cheers. Thanks a million. Thank you. Yeah, thanks to the SSE Airtricity League Director, Fran Gavin, for his time. Now that's it on episode 1 of the Off the Ball League of Ireland podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and to all of our guests. More from all of them in the podcast section, 98fm.com. And we'll be back on offtheball.com and all our social channels next Wednesday.